all set.
Are we going?
Yep.
It didn't show on my screen yet, so I was like, whatever. What's up, people? Welcome again to the Druzhinacast. I'm Mike.
I'm
I'm
Tom.
Got
Josh.
Tom. Josh, there
Tom
you
and
go.
Josh.
We'll get better at that as we do this.
Hello.
I want to first give a big shout out to everybody that's followed us, shared our stuff, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on here on Twitch, Instagram. We have our YouTube up where we archive all our episodes after the streams. We've got a bunch of traction and a bunch of people getting engaged with us, and I really appreciate that. I did want to start off with answering questions that we got throughout the week on our posts. It's one of our big ways that I want to try to engage with people and start off the episodes kind of backlogging and checking out those questions. Luckily, we only got one question, and it was from my buddy Gavin. And he was asking, what ways can we try to get new people involved in LARP? A lot of people back in the day were probably checking out nerd stores like comic book stores and stuff and trying to get them just trying to get them signed up for something, maybe flyering, maybe showing up in garb and trying to show off what they had. Some people even go to cons and do demonstrations on fighting and stuff and let people try it out. At this point, during pandemic season, I'm pretty sure the only way to do it is stuff like this. It's kind of why we're doing it. It's because we're all cooped up, and this is kind of the only way we can get our LARP energy out and try to get people engaged. I'm hoping now that we're on Facebook and hopefully have people watching, that a lot of people who probably know about what we do but haven't really checked it out can kind of keep it for at least a couple minutes and get an idea of what's going on. Real quick, Tom, I'm only seeing the I don't know if I have to refresh or something. I'm only seeing like the blank page that. Never mind, I fixed it.
Okay.
So before we got really deep into what topics we were going to cover on this episode, which is mainly LARP weapons, both sharing what I have here in my basement, which isn't just my stuff, a lot of it's Tom's. We kind of wanted to do a little PSA because something happened this weekend that we're not big fans of, and enough of the community is also kind of up in arms about it that we feel like it's kind of our place to share the collective thoughts of a lot of people that we admire and respect. There was a big LARP event held this weekend on the East Coast, and from the one video that we saw, there was a lot of people not wearing masks, a lot of people not social distanced, and it looked like it was a lot of people. And from what I've heard, people were coming from as far as California to go to this event. So obviously anybody who is aware of how the science of this disease works and how it's been working for almost a year now, people can contract it and spread it. It's airborne just by close distance. And then people can take it back home with them all over the country and spread it to another 5 people who will spread it to another 5 people. It's the reason that things are the way they are right now for us, because of people just assuming things are fine and doing things like that. So we're not going to say who hosted the event. We don't want to give them any more attention than they don't already deserve. But we just wanted to make a case that if somebody sees that event happening and sees other LARP events happening, as of now, we're not very supportive of that. We don't approve. We all really miss doing it. We all love doing it. But we are not cool in any way with people hosting events. We find it very irresponsible. And the direct communication I've had with people who are at the event have expressed very clearly that they value their right to LARP over the chance of one person dying, which hit me hard enough to say, let's say something on here about it. If you guys have something else to say about it, that's pretty much my piece.
I'd say don't do that.
Well, and I think it's very important right now, nationally in general, but specifically in our community, to not be hesitant. I mean, because let's face it, we've all been cooped up. Hopefully, we're all suffering real life suffering, and like Mike said, we're all waiting with this pain of like, we do want to get out there. But I fully condemn. I don't we don't have time to be polite. We don't have time to be, oh, I don't want to make waves in our community, or I don't want to, like, I don't care. Like, you make bad decisions. Accountability is the title of 2020 and beyond. I'm going to, I'm starting a trend here, but like, I'm going to dump on you anytime I can.
Get dumped on.
Get dumped on, because it's not acceptable. I think it's garbage. I highly disapprove of it. So.
Anything from you, Josh?
So, like, we're in this pandemic, and I get it. Like, people want to go back to some kind of fun and do things with their friends, but it's not worth it. And we keep seeing this happen over and over again, like this whole year. So, like, why are we letting these things get out of hand still? If we're LARPers and we want to do fun things with each other, let's just wait, and when it's done, it'll be even better. Like, we'll finally have these events, and they'll be full of energy that we've been, waiting to use. So why don't we just, wait till next year if that happens? If it takes till, next fall, okay, maybe in the next summer. But it's going to be worth it if we wait, because right now, holy cow, it's at its worst right now. That's a fact. So in this country, at least.
You're
So everybody's ready to move on from that. Let's roll straight into our episode that we actually went to. Last week, we kind of did an introduction of ourselves and what LARP is to us from our perspectives and our experiences. Today, we are going to talk LARP weapons, things that we've used, things that we like, things that we don't like, compare them to boffer weapons that we've been using for about a decade, which probably most people watching have a lot of experience with. Things that we'd like to see, and even things like firearms that we're getting really into and getting really excited about. Where do you guys want to start? Because there's a lot. I think swords is what we have the most of.
Yeah. So let's switch over to our fancy new feature. I don't know if you want to.
Tom worked on this all day.
Oh, the quality. So this is our
He did a great job.
Ingvar's Armory. We'll let him take it.
So we can start off with a mainstay, at least for me. This was the first sword I got, and it's a company that's really big and a lot of people use. Man, this thing's beat up. Epic Armory. Epic Armory is, I believe they're European based, but they have another wholesaler factory warehouse in Canada, close to where Beakling's at. Probably close to half of the weapons you see on the field are going to be Epic Armory weapons, and this is the one Epic Armory weapon I own. It is their just basic saber. It comes in 3 different lengths, and this is the longest one. I bought this just because it was the closest thing I could get to some kind of Slavic-looking saber. There's parts of it that kind of cry a little Polish hussar to me. There's parts of it that have the neat little Lithuanian caps on the handguard and stuff that I enjoy. The handguard is my favorite part. It's nice and small. It's realistically sized. It's not big and bulky. It has great grip and it has great feel. It swings to me beautifully. Goes off like a charm. Cuts through the air real nice. And you could probably tell when I get close enough that this guy has been real beat up. I've got a lot of divots from probably smacking people right in the armor. Lots of dents that are just forming from either laying them down wrong or smacking people with them. The worst thing that I've done to this sword is just from use and probably from the higher calibration of how we hit, not only when we're at other games, but when we hit our friends. This thing just full on collapses to the core when I squeeze it here. Most swords don't do that, especially when you get them brand new, but this one is done for. I love this sword so much that I'm probably going to end up buying another one just so I can have a nice, fresh new one to use. But that's my fave right there out of the 3 swords that I have and that we're going to show you today.
And if I can say something real quick just about Epic Armory in general.
Go for it.
I feel like Epic Armory, I mean, they're obviously a big mainstay in the LARP weapon world. I've seen a lot of posts they make. They seem like they really keep up on continuing their like LARP weapon technology, like what cores they use. I've seen YouTube videos of I believe the owner going over new ways to finish or how to repaint. It seems like there's a bigger connection to the actual community, from what I gather, and I think we appreciate that. So I think they're definitely a big player and will remain a big player.
I mean, they're the ones that do like the cool custom thing on their website where like you can pick a handle, you can pick a blade, you can tell them a length.
No, that's Kalamazoo.
That's Kalamazoo. Okay.
Yeah.
But they sell handles separately where you can get the blade you want, and if you're savvy enough to throw stuff together yourself, you can take care of it.
Yeah.
I love that sword, man. I used it in that Siege tournament. I used it at both Bicos so far. Yeah, I'm probably gonna get a new one because I don't know if I feel great about hitting people with it the way it is right now.
Yeah.
The second thing I wanted to go over were the Freihand falchions that we got. These we only have because Fayol was able to bring them from Germany for us because they don't ship to the States yet, unless you got a buddy that's going to bring them over. They're awesome. They look beautiful. They're real sturdy feeling, which is great. The only thing that I was surprised by really was that these have been weighted towards the handle, kind of like Boffer swords are. So their balance point is literally right there above the handle. I've been really appreciating how LARP weapons are kind of tip heavy because it makes the swings a little more fluid and realistic. And with this one, it's a little harder to do such things. So you kind of have to fight it like a Boffer sword would. I almost switch my entire fighting stance when I hold these guys because the balance just reminds me of fighting with like a Gorg sword.
Mm-hmm.
Gorg being a guy that makes Boffer swords in Florida for Dagon Bell. But one of these is Tom's. So, I mean, Tom can say a lot about this sword. I mean, I know you didn't fight with it a lot for it. But
I mean, everybody likes different things about what they buy. I typically don't really fight with swords. I'm more of a polearm person, and we'll get to that. But to me, these swords really worked well for even like in-town aesthetic at Bicolene because they are one of the companies that also have sheaths or scabbards that they make and
nice
you can buy with them, which I mean, I've seen swords and I'm like, oh yeah, but like there's no way to get a scabbard, so it's affected my decision because I am much more of an aesthetic full kit type person when it comes to swords. But I like the way it feels. I like kind of a broader blade. Those blades are a bit broader than the Epic Armory, but I've never even touched it. I don't even think I've ever held that sword that you have. So, but I mean, I'm gonna continue to wear that sword on my hip.
Yeah. It's the only one I have with a sheath, so I have no choice. It's gonna be the one I wear. I do feel like that the hand. I mean, my hands are small, but I do feel like the handles are humongous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which just makes me insecure more than anything. There's nothing terrible about that.
Yeah. That's next episode. We'll talk about.
We could. Yeah, the next episode we'll talk about my small hands.
No, I can't wait to try those because they look amazing. But like their sizing, I feel like they're probably going to be pretty cool. Like in the fight, be able to last a while. So by the looks of them.
So well, let's take another look at the one that I actually used. So this one's mine, the one with the brass handle. Really, it's got some scrapes and stuff and some discoloration from friction. But I mean, like on the actual edge of the blade, I have really just one permanent divot that's not going away, but everything else just kind of slowly inflated back out. I don't have any sweet spots where like I can go down to the core. It's pretty much the same as it was when I got it. So I can attest to it being, through at least one Bicolene where we fought a lot. I feel like the biggest worry with a lot of these swords too is the tip getting blasted off with people. And I'm not seeing any sort of instability, or I don't have any concern over this. Like,
sweet,
it's holding up really, really well. So I mean, I could see this one being a mainstay.
I would give Freihand like an 8 out of 10. I feel like it's up there. Again, it sucks. I don't know the shipping or whatever, but I mean, if you can get your hands on their weapons, I think it's definitely exciting.
if you know anybody in Europe, you can ship it to them and they can mail it to you. So I mean, it's just you're going to be paying
True.
shipping twice, pretty much. So I think that's what either Steve had to do from the Oathsworn, or somebody else had a freehand sword, and that they were telling me they had to get it shipped somewhere to do it. The last sword that I have to show off.
Oh boy.
It's my pride and joy, even though I haven't been able to use it yet. But this sword just feels and looks amazing. I'm sure from this distance that just looks like a real sword.
Yeah.
But the way the blade has that finish where it shines in the light, amazing. It has the bevel so that my enemies bleed when I impale them upon it. The handle is pretty much directly based historically off a Polish-Lithuanian Carabella. It's beautiful, and it's like bronze and antiqued, like very cleanly. Like we've seen a lot of different manufacturers do the kind of deal where they paint their handles kind of ornately, and you'll see paint that ended up bleeding onto the blade, or parts of the blade that bled onto the handle, or it was cast in one entire mold. This is very clearly a separate piece that has been glued together with the blade and painted separately.
It's very nice.
And there is no bleed over or anything. I love this sword. I cannot attest to its use, although it feels amazing in my hand, and it feels like it's very head heavy, obviously because there's that fat chunk at the top. But I adore that about it.
Yeah, that's for the backside cuts.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that people feel it when I give them the good ones. The only thing is that we aren't positive on the company that made these. It does have that Rugi website's name on it, so maybe that is who it is.
Yeah, it must be then.
Yeah.
Well, then we can give them the credit for that. The reason we were so confused is that I actually got this sword off Etsy, and if you look for like Lark Saber just in a generic Google search, this sword pops up all over the place on all kinds of different websites. So maybe I wish I would have looked at it before, because now I realize it is that Rugi website, which is one of the sites that we found and we're talking about. Maybe we should look into them more, because for all we know, they're pumping out a bunch of sweet swords that look really good and feel really good in the hand.
I've seen they do like a French. It's like a boarding sword that looks close to like a Polish saber, but it kind of has like a French handle.
Like a naval hanger sword with like a cutlass kind of deal.
I don't know exactly where they're based. I want to say it's obviously somewhere in Europe. But I mean, like Mike said, he got that from Etsy, from probably a third-party seller. I don't know if they ship to the United States. And like he said, he hasn't play tested it yet, but I mean, I think it looks great. I mean,
I love it, man. The blade feels so dense and good. Like I hope it holds up when I actually get to use it. I feel like I'm going to use it really heavy like one day and assess the damage. Mm-hmm. And if it seems to be taking a beating pretty well, it's going to become my new main sword. But if it doesn't seem to hold up great, I'm going to want to take care of it, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get another one of these.
True.
Yeah. At least just because it was expensive. This was like a $120 sword. This is the most I've spent on a sword, at least the sword itself. The freehand sword was only more expensive because we got sheaths.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the sword by itself was only going to be $80 or $90, and then that Epic Army sword is a $70 sword.
And we had been. Okay.
I want to just buy those in bulk so I can just run through them and destroy them, because that sword feels great, and it wouldn't hurt my feelings if I was just wrecking those things.
You gonna say something, Josh?
Like, once we find out how to get that sword, that's going to be one of the first ones I get. I'm just right now.
Yeah, Joel wants to get one too. He likes it a lot.
Yeah, they look great. They look great in the hand and everything. Again, I just want someone to make a sheath for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want. Or if we do find the manufacturer and we can actually order them, that's where I would feel comfortable trying to make a sheath for it, because then I know if the sword broke, I could just buy another one and it would go boop right back in the sheath.
Yeah,
absolutely. So if you want, we can move on to pole arms, which is going to be Tom is going to take over talking on that, and I'm pretty much going to stand here and
you're going to be my Vanna.
What do you want to start with?
Just start with my shorter Nemesis one.
First, the original.
So the story behind this is, the first Beacoline, I brainstormed to be like, I know, I'll just modify boffer glaive, and that was a huge, big waste of money and a huge fail. So I found myself having to get something, and I believe it was they have like setups there, like merchants there. I don't know if it was the Epic Armory store, but they had a wide arrangement. And when I bought this, I thought it was Epic Armory, but I always thought to myself, why isn't this ever on the website? Well, I found out that this is a Nemesis glaive, or Naginata as they say, but it could easily pass for anything, any kind of glaive in Europe or whatever. And I mean, I had to buy it last minute, but it was very solid. The tip is very, like, I don't want to use the word plump, but it's very dense.
Oh, she's plump.
I swung it around without any worry. It only got a little bit of a cut on it from me kind of haphazardly swinging it at the wooden fort wall, trying to hit people. But it took a big beating, and to be honest, finding out in the last couple weeks that it was Nemesis, I really want to look into even like swords, because I know they do sheaths. So and I would recommend that, but this is, I think, 6 foot, so it's on the shorter side for me.
Yeah, it's like a little taller than me.
Which I mean, quote unquote, historically or whatever. I mean, they came in all shapes and sizes. I definitely feel a lot of control from that, and it doesn't really feel like there was a whole lot of flex. I don't think
so at all. No, this thing feels great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a polearm guy, so
Boley is saying in the chat that original polearm was his companion, and that's true. But Boley, I don't know if you heard, but I just threw it in the dumpster. I'm like, what am I gonna do with this thing? So I was so disappointed. So I was like, I'm just gonna throw this away.
There's like a horse walking around the highway and pooping, and then we just chucked it in the dumpster. And
I was like, I'm not taking this back, because see, I lived in California at the time, so I shipped it to Boley, who lives in Alberta. So that was a big monetary. Well, I'll be frustrated if I go too into that. But anyways, so this is my Nemesis glaive. I like it. Mike was able to use it last time we went to Bico. I think the shortness definitely makes it feel a little obsolete with all the spears.
When I pick up your other one, I feel like I can't do nothing with it.
Yeah, the spears are naturally the polearm user's predator. So, anyways, so that's Nemesis.
It held up really good.
I like it. I think they build it for heavier impact LARP. It doesn't have a lot of flex. I hate flex in polearms. I know why they do it. But
people like you don't kill people.
I'm gonna do I'm gonna do whatever I can to avoid flexy polearms from this point on. But yeah, I would give that a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, the blade held up great. The only thing that happened was you must have caught somebody in the armor or something in that cut, but it's like you can't help that. That's any weapon.
Plus, I'm pretty sure that they do latex, and I'm pretty sure that Epic Armory does latex, and I think Freyhand does latex paint. Kalamazoo does not. It's like injected foam, and they paint over it. So I could easily, when I get my hands on that, I could probably easily repair that.
Yeah.
Or not. I think it would still hold up.
I wouldn't be worried about it now. I mean, if it starts like getting a bunch of chunks, because I mean, just the more cuts you get in there, the more likely you're going to start losing like big chunks of it. Which
and that was a last minute panic buy. I still value it, but if I get something better, that will probably just be an alternate polearm.
This thing can be hard to get in frame.
Yeah. Next up, this came out actually right before we went to Bicoline 2019. It's the Kalamazoo 7 foot. I don't know what they call it, but it's just a 7 foot pole sword.
I'm pretty sure they were selling it as like a Naginata.
Sure.
It came with like the katana hand.
Yeah. They did in the description though say that it could definitely, which I was like, ooh, when I saw it, it could definitely be a Savnya, which I'm probably not even pronouncing that, which is pole sword type weapon that like Russian military used, and I was like, well, I'm sold. So this was actually too long for Bicoline, and we had to like cut the end of the pommel off and then tape it.
So
but
sad.
After somebody there helped me out.
A friendly Cossack did it for us.
Yeah, he was super nice. I don't know his name.
We'll recruit him one day.
He was cool, but I like this weapon. It's just, again, it's very flexy, and
Yeah.
since it's injected foam, uh, I gotta say, I mean, I don't I don't want to put a bad light on Kalamazoo, but in my experience with this, their paint jobs, I mean, I don't know what they're rated for as far as how high contact they think it's going to be used, but it really scuffed up the paint. Um,
Yeah. You got a
there's
lot
even
of
places where the paint looks like it's dried out and it was like a little crunchy.
Mhm.
And yeah, you can see there. That's just from 1 year. And
Ugh, it's
I also
unfortunate.
want to criticize Kalamazoo's seams. They obviously it's all injected, but I don't know. Seem they could go down there with a Dremel and clean those seams up, or like a quick belt sand, just for that extra finish. I don't
That
really.
like that sucks too when you like feel it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be sharp, and especially because they're
Yeah.
not using latex, you're not getting that extra soft, squishy barrier. So I mean, I don't want to get hit with it in the bare skin.
I feel
No,
like
no
the
way.
things with like seams, like the first time I ever saw a latex weapon was like way back in the day, like one of the first bucks I ever did, like 2003. And those things have like really bad seams, and I'm like, why is that still a thing? Like
Yeah,
we've like these weapons have gotten so much better, but like
yeah.
they're still, come
Well,
on,
it's
people.
it's the mass production. I mean, you'll see that. Does your Rugi saber have seams?
I don't know, dude. I'm a freaking dynasty warrior right
All
now,
right, you
man.
can dance it
Yeah.
out. You can work it out.
um,
Um,
yeah, they're there, but they're like I
it
can
looks
see
more
them.
finished.
Yeah,
It looks
like
much
they're
more
I
finished.
can I can see the seams, but either the mold they did this in is nice and clean and it took care of itself, or they actually went through and buffed them out
Yeah,
because they're pretty much not there. Like I can do this and I don't feel any scratches. If I do that on your glaive, it'll hurt.
yeah. And I don't know if that sword is latex or not, but that's
I
the
don't know. Yeah,
advantage of latex, other than the allergy, is once you've cast the foam, you can paint over it. Whereas Kalamazoo just paints with a thinner paint. It looks like over their injected mold.
I
So
love
I don't
doing this
know.
for
I
comparison and just showing that the blade of your glaive is as long as the blade of my
Tom, we
epic
should
armor sword.
the game we should be streaming is Dynasty Warriors next time.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anybody
that
on
would have been way
Facebook,
more appropriate.
they Facebook really forced me to pick a game to stream. So I was like, well, Mount Blade, I guess. That's the only thing that is
I'm
close.
sure there's a way to bypass it. We just need another week to figure that out.
Yeah, I just couldn't. I was like, it's gonna have to do. So anybody that tunes in and sees you with that, they're gonna be like, whoa, the graphics.
You're like, whoa, dude, it's Boo Boo.
Um, Dante Fox is asking, how big is the latex allergy issue? Well, there are a lot of people that are allergic to latex. Um, I'm not allergic to it, so I don't know. But there are a lot of weapon makers that definitely post that as a bonus to be like, hey, no latex, avoid latex allergies.
Yeah.
I
Just
don't
do
know.
it.
The only time I've seen it actually come up. Like I've never seen a game that's explicitly banning latex weapons, even though they might want to take that precaution. I think they just expect people to like if you're worried about getting smacked around with a latex weapon, to the point where it's going to make you act up or give you a hive or something. Probably just cover your arms up, cover your body up. The only time I saw it really come up in like a whole game, stressing out about it was I forgot his name, but there was a dad guy that was trying to make a LARP happen here in the States. And the second that they seemed to start opposing use of latex weapons and chatting about that with people were like, well, I don't know. Like, how am I ever going to figure that out? I'm like, it says it right on the website. It's not a
Yeah.
big deal. But I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever have like games that are outright entirely banning latex weapons. I think
No.
they're expecting people to take their own personal precautions against that. 'Cause, I mean, I'm not an expert in this stuff, and I'm definitely not a doctor, but I'm assuming that a reaction from latex is more likely to happen from having pretty long contact with it, like wearing something made out of latex or like a glove or something else, rather than like, oh, I got smacked for an eighth of a second by a sword. I mean, I guess if you're getting smacked by latex weapons all week, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'd have to do some kind of science experiment to really be an expert on that.
And I mean, I make an educated guess to say, if you're allergic to latex, like Mike said, and you're in a LARP that uses latex weapons, which we haven't really touched on yet, but latex weapons have definitely a stingier bite to them.
Mm-hmm.
Even though most people, or well, I can't say most people, but maybe 50% of the people aren't swinging them as hard or in the same fashion as a boffer sword. It's just good etiquette to wear coverage.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
Also,
Everybody's hot,
just
everybody's sweaty, but
the trade-off for me between a boffer sword and a LARP sword too is like I have my Gorg secret bats right here. For anybody who hasn't gotten a good look at a boffer sword, this is about as basic as it gets. The round thing, any surface of that area is a strike, and it's kind of what I was talking about with the fray hand swords, where it's completely weighted towards the handle there. God, it's not even on the blade. Like it's pretty much right there. But you're swinging from your wrist with this thing, and there's more mass behind these things. Even if they weigh a little less, it's just the nature of how they're made and their shape. And people in these games are probably hitting a little harder with them too. But I feel like the trade-off between something like this, and getting a good whack out of it, compared to something like this and getting a good whack out of it, is that is a more bitier hit because this has less mass. I'm hitting just as hard with both, and and both feel extremely different. The difference pretty much is that this is like getting hit with this feels more likely to give me a bruise,
but it disperses.
Solid hit, but yes, there's more area for it to go over, whereas this feels like it's more likely to give me a welt, but there's so much less mass behind it that I feel like it would really take a lot for that to do something extreme. I mean, I've been walloped with these things. Like the group that I started using latex weapons with, we were fighting just as hard, if not a little harder than probably baseline DAG. And I think I saw a couple of people get welts. I've never personally had any sort of crazy injury from a LARP weapon that was lasting more than 20 minutes.
Yeah. And too, not only the speed and the force that they're used, but even Mike can agree that when you're swinging around a LARP sword, it goes through the air differently. It feels, I can't say it feels like a real sword because I don't swing around real swords, but I feel like the cutability, it feels like you could go for slashing cuts, or instead of just club, everything feels like a club in boffer, whereas with latex it doesn't. So there's definitely a recalibration to an extent, I would say. And plus, LARP swords, I don't feel like are really built for that. And if you're going to be hitting people in armor, it's kind of I think it pays to kind of pay attention to the recalibration, not only for the people you're hitting, but the longevity of your weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So
definitely,
and it's just with because you don't know how hard somebody wants to get hit.
Making comments on Bicco guys at Biccoline, are you allowed to hit as far as you can?
I don't think so. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think some discretion is implied. I definitely think there's a excessive force rule, possibly. Anybody in chat that wants to pop in more, that knows more?
I've heard stories of people being walked off the field and being hey, take a 5-minute break, you're going a little too hard on people out there. I've never had that talk, and I don't think Tom ever has, who is the one person I would expect to, because I've seen him destroy people.
I have a little story about that if you want me to share.
Are you thinking of the guy at war?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about my first shot I ever threw at Beacoline.
Oh, we should tell that story too, but I want to tell a story about at war, how you were rowboating into the side of a bridge with your glaive, and you just weren't looking, and you hit a guy in the leg, and then he took the knee, and you wound back up, and you went to hit the exact same spot, but that spot was his face.
Yeah.
And that dude,
we all learn our lessons.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't know if that dude fought the rest of the day. You should feel bad.
I know.
What were we gonna do next? Were we still touching on that, the whole Beacoline thing? I don't know if somebody in the chat can shout out what they.
Somebody did. Someone said rest will definitely tell you for excessive force. They'll tell you off.
So we must be doing all right since nobody's talking. The only time I got to talking to a Beacoline was when I put Frederica in the dirt.
Yeah.
Which wasn't my fault, and she admitted it wasn't my fault. She charged me.
Right.
And what else are you going to do when somebody charges you but put them in the dirt?
Plus, again, the instincts from what you played,
Watch.
you were like,
Don't do it again.
oh, you just braced yourself. Anyway, water under the bridge with that. But another thing too.
I'll do it again.
You have the video?
Oh my gosh.
They say they have the video of it. Why have we never seen that?
What?
We need to show that on here.
We need a hub for multimedia of Beacoline, because that's another thing we'll touch on, that we go months looking for pictures, and I'm just like, dang.
Yeah.
But one quick last thing that I want to say is, with shot calibration, is it may not be in every LARP, but Beacoline does allow headshots on the crown of the top of the head. So that's another thing that, you could be the person that's like, I fight this way in my LARP, and I'm going to go there and do it. And it's like, no, you literally just have to think about someone else's well-being a little bit more.
Unless they're wearing a metal helmet, I'm not walloping on people's heads.
Yeah.
Nope.
If I'm coming up to somebody without a helmet on, and I know I'm going to get a shot in their head, and they're probably not going to have a chance to block it, because I'm so sweet. I'm just giving them literally, and not even with the tip of my sword. This is exactly what I do. I am giving them one of these, a tap with the side.
Oh,
So there's
you
a
flat
bunch
tap?
of cushion there. I'll do it just on the top of their head, so it's a nice big surface and it's not hard.
And they're gonna feel it because it's on their dome. Yeah.
Yeah,
so.
and they're gonna take it because that's a one-hit kill right there. So I'm never chopping down, hammer shotting people on top of the head unless they're wearing a helmet, or they're like in Helican or that other group that just they just walk up 60 deep in full armor and metal helmets, and you have to hit them so hard.
So
you
Mike,
hit them so many times so hard.
In chat they're saying they can't share it because it wants to be used as a quote-unquote "don't do this." So you're going to be in the highlights of a LARPer gone wrong.
Yeah. Mamushka.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. That's awesome.
And if enough people in chat want me to, I can tell the story of my first strike, but I mean, we should probably move on. Nobody wants to hear about that, so.
We can say it for the end. How about we be the one of those things like, hey, chat, remind us later when we talk about that other time Tom was a bad boy. This whole stream just turns into just us like, here's why we're terrible people to LARP with.
Here's why,
Let's do spears.
Okay.
I have two here, and I'm going to show both because even though one is one that was made and used in Dagger here in Bellegarde, it is the exact same tech that a lot of people are using at LARPs, and including Beacoline, just because spear tech, that latex spear tech hasn't gotten to a point where like something really safe and really good looking can be made.
Yeah.
The ones that look really good aren't necessarily safe, and I wouldn't recommend getting them or using them in something that's like really, really, really full contact or just even baseline contact. Chair over here, so I have to leave it propped up. I have to hold on to it. But to kind of attest to that, this is a spear that our buddy Urs bought at Beacoline from a company called B3. And it's literally a boffer spear.
Mm-hmm.
But they have this cool fabric cover that makes it look like it's made out of wood and metal. And they put a gray cover on the tip. But it's the same deal. It's a cylindrical chunk of foam on a skinnier cylindrical chunk of foam on a band shot pole. This is mostly what you're going to see at Beacoline. I mean, even when I watch a couple of videos of some of the Euro LARPs, they're using stuff like this. The reason being probably because people are getting stabbed pretty hard with them, and it probably sucks to get stabbed with a little skinny latex spear tip.
Yeah.
What's up, Pecco?
The only thing that I don't love about spears in Boffer is that they look like this. I would really like for something to develop that looks a lot better. There are those, I don't really know what company makes them, but there are those spears that kind of have the cross kind of deal going on.
It's like a spring tip.
Yeah, and there's like a cylindrical spring inside of a foam tip.
Is that Kalamazoo? Can anybody confirm in the chat?
I forget. I remember seeing that.
But that if I could pop in, that is a thing that I want to like call out to LARP makers once we go into that section, but I want to say it now. somebody's got to work on the tech for the tips of swords, whether they're meant to stab or not. That flop tip is, I feel like that's the number one breakdown vulnerable spot. Someone's got to figure something out for that, because it's, as it stands, it sucks.
I mean, Josh, you're a pretty big spear user, so I mean, we really need you to start using some stuff like this so that you can speak more on it. Because I mean, as much as I own spears and I've been using them for years, like I've really dropped off on my spear use over time.
I still spear from time to time. I don't know. I don't ever really want to stab people with a latex spear, though. That's the thing. Like, that's the same thing with swords.
Well, and you can't one-arm stab either.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess that's the other thing.
Thing is, like, when I want to stab somebody, like, I want it to be as hard of a hit as a sword slash. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I want to make sure people feel it and that it looks real, feels real. So, like, I don't want to, like, I wish the latex spears somehow were softer for stabbing, but, like, they just aren't right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's, like, really unfortunate.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I used to stab a lot with...
Czech LARPs use them. They probably don't care.
Yeah, they probably don't. I used to stab a lot with my Boffer glaive, and I definitely miss it because it opens up... Well, since you can't stab with one arm at Beacoline, it kind of, like, makes me not care about stabbing. But I do miss that.
This is supposed to be?
That's a marker. You have to keep your hand behind it.
Really? So you have to use it like this?
Yes.
Okay. Reasons why I don't use a spear at Beaco.
Yeah.
Yeah, they took all the fun out of it, but
pretty much. That balances it though, because in any other game, pole arms are like
they're too long. Yeah.
This feels so much more nasty.
But what I was gonna say is once I learned that I could hit in the top of the head with my glaive or any weapon, I'm like, that's all I'm gonna do, because it's just there. So,
like, Beaco players too will take like straight up like a spear tip just touching them. Like they take really, and I think I got some like weird looks sometimes for like not taking ones that kind of just like brushed up against me, because I've just always been of the mind that like if a spear shot like moves me, like if it hits my leg so hard that it makes my leg move, I'm taking it 100%.
Yeah.
So that's just my calibration, and people that are just like tapping me with it, like hell, I'm probably wearing my greaves, like I probably don't even notice it. So it's like
I've gotten the machine gun wiggle from like
that's the other
American
thing
players where they go like this against my body.
They look at me like I'm like doing
like
something wrong,
a LARP criminal.
I'm like, you're pathetic. Yeah. So that's pretty much, well, that's not it. We have a couple other miscellaneous things. Unless you guys have anything else to say about spears, I don't know. Chat's popping off about it. None of us are like big spear guys. I mean, Josh, I've seen Josh use a spear a lot, but I haven't seen Josh at an event using a spear in like years. So
no, it's been a while
for me
since
to
I
like
really
have to talk about it.
No, like
it's a tippy.
I like at Bico they mentioned that you have to have their hand over the red line, kind of thing. I don't know how that works. It's like their whole spear system. So I'm like really curious now.
I don't really understand it.
So much of the fighting is done in groups. There's not like individual spearmen running around going for kills on their own. So I mean,
that's how it should be, though.
Yeah, so I mean, that's probably why it works. Because there's probably like 8 guys next to each other like this. You know, like,
there's a lot of spear pockets.
I love how it's just a bar hovering in my screen because both of my hands are on the pole, but you cannot see the part of the pole that has my hands.
No,
or else I'll hit my wall. That's as far as I can go.
That's so cool, though.
Freaking spears.
But yeah, anytime there's a big group of spears for me, it's like, well, I guess I'm going somewhere else because I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
There's always.
I can't match the length, and I can't even. I don't know. I don't think you can hit away weapons with your weapon at Beacoline.
No way, because I was doing that a bunch.
But you can't be like, ooh, you can't like chop it out of the way. I don't think. Which
really?
I don't think so. Dude,
I was smashing spears towards the ground before running up on a spear guy all the time. I don't know. Maybe I was breaking rules then.
I mean, I'll give it a shot.
That knows what they're doing at Beacoline, tell me if I've been cheating. If I've just been being. I feel like I'm just slowly learning that I am a massive bully when I go there, which is not great. But whatever. So if we're done talking about spears or people yelling at me about the way I treat spearmen,
Yeah, we can move on.
yeah, Brody's here. I wonder why.
What's up, Broads?
What's up, Broders? You guys might hear him jingling in the background. Let's talk the couple miscellaneous things I have, which is only really two. Where the heck is it?
And then maybe after that we can transition to like what we'd like to see.
Yeah, like what we'd like to see, and we could even show. We have your messer here, which I don't know how proud you are of it, but I think it's cool.
You can show it off.
I want to
Yeah.
see it. It's so cool.
It's awesome.
It's the
We
only-
have the shields here too. We can talk about if you want.
Yeah.
So these are two little things. I can actually sit down for this. Oh, this is a like little simple warhammer from Mythalon. Whether Mythalon makes it or just distributes it, and it's a different company, I don't know. There is a little like lion crest logo on it that I think is theirs. It's in the catalog I got from them too, so I assume that they're the maker. Calamasil. Okay, so Mythalon's just distributing Calamasil stuff then. Somebody in chat said it.
I'm not really sure if Mythalon is a maker or a like a storefront.
See, they must just be a distributor then, because they like distribute Bergschneider garb and stuff too. So Mythalon's just where I got this, but people that know more than I do say this is a Calamasil hammer, which I will confirm because they would know and I wouldn't.
Pretty sure that is
I barely use this thing for a couple of reasons. It's really short, which is fine because that's realistic, but just because of I'm already short and I got these short little arms, so having a short weapon does not do me any favors. It is really, really light. I never feel like I can hit anybody hard enough with it, and that's not me trying to be like, I want to be a goon and I want to hurt people. I literally don't know if I can hit people hard enough, especially if they're wearing armor, which are the people you want to hit with a hammer. I don't know if they'd even feel it, so I just avoid using it. I wear it around my belt because it looks cool. And if we were like doing something in nightlife, I'm sure I could pull it out and whip some people with it if we like got in some trouble, and that would make me feel sweet. My few complaints about it, other than that, are that the spike and the head of the hammer are both just all foam. There's nothing even like a soft rubber kind of core to kind of give these any sort of integrity, which I'm sure is just so that it really smushes when you smack somebody with it, which is fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But kind of like how Tom just wears around the Freyhand falchion for looks, this is purely just an aesthetic belt piece for me, which is fine because it looks awesome. It looks nice. The reason I got this is because in like a sea of LARP weapons that all look kind of silly, this looked like a real medieval warhammer, and I was like, great, that's a must buy in my mind. Now that I've seen that fake steel group on Facebook, I'm kind of just wish I had one of theirs, but this thing's fine. Honestly, when Brodo from Pandemonium tried out like latex weapons with us for the first time, one of those Olympics where we were like having our secret tournaments in the woods, he used this against me, and I should have just sent you the link for the video because it's actually really funny. He just walloped me right in the nuts with it, and through my gambeson, I felt it enough that I knew I got hit. It didn't hurt or nothing, but you can hear me like in mid-fight going like, "Ooh, my nuts." Yeah, this thing's neat. I'm not like mad that I have it or anything. I think it's cool. Throw it over there. I love this thing. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to use it in the way that it was made to be used, but at the very least, I can do that, which is always fun. So this is a coreless hand axe made by Wyverncraft. Lily and Rissa that own and run Wyverncraft. They are like in our Beekling travel group pretty much, and they're really good friends of ours now. I love those girls dearly, and they gave me this as a gift at I think it was our first Beco, or was it the last one?
It was the last one, I think.
The last one they gave this to me, and they told me it's meant to be a throwing axe, and that's why there's no core, so that you can just whip it at people and hopefully not hurt them. And even though I've sat in my basement practicing like drawing it from my belt and throwing it really quick at like a massive gravity on a target that's not even there, I don't know if I'll ever be able to figure out a safe way to allow throwing weapons, at least throwing latex weapons in a game. But I would love to throw this thing at somebody. And once again, to kind of attest to like just the look of something, like it looks like a real
Yeah,
axe to me.
their stuff looks great.
Except when it flops around. But it looks so clean. The size and shape is really realistic. There's no like obviously bits that were made fat, so it's safe to hit somebody with it. We're going to talk a lot about Wyvern Craft just because I just think they do a great job when we start talking about the makers and manufacturers that we really like. But as far as stuff bought from major manufacturers, that's pretty much all I got down here. All we have left are the sword that Tom made, his Grossmesser, which I love, and I haven't really gotten used because
If I would have known a little more, I could have.
Yeah, but I mean, this was like the first actual weapon you made.
Yeah, first latex weapon.
And I mean, I hope people freak out in the chat about how good this thing looks. This is the first LARP weapon this guy ever made.
It failed at homologation because they said through the flat they could feel the tip of the core.
Which is the last thing I was thinking it would fail for, by the way.
Yeah, because it's a graphite golf club with EVA foam and probably way too many layers of latex that wasn't watered down. That's why it kind of has that like textured.
It's real stiff.
Yeah, it's real stiff. I would have loved to use that.
It is rough. It's rough like a. Oof. That ain't smooth at all. Like I have never used this to fight somebody, and I would feel bad if
I've hit myself in the leg with it, and I was like, I don't know.
Well, a good clean shot is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't hurt my feelings or nothing. I'm worried about scraping somebody with this part. Tip doesn't have as much give.
That's the thing too.
It could.
Is that there's no core in like 5 inches of the tip, but it's EVA foam, so it's denser. So you don't get that like floppy whatever. I mean, if that went in somebody's eye, sure, that sucks. But but if you think about it with LARP swords, if I stabbed you in the eye and didn't pull back, you're gonna feel core eventually, because that tip is gonna totally decompress and you're gonna get core in your eye.
Well, I mean, while we're talking about how terrible we are, that Epic Armory sword that I showed, that you can just squeeze it down to the core. So I was nice enough to tell the guy at homologation, like, hey, before you check this, I want to show you, like, I don't know if you guys care about this here, but I can just, with 2 fingers, squeeze this thing down to the core. And he's like, oh, yeah, don't even bother giving that to me. Like, it fails. And I was like, okay, cool. And then the next day, Urs was just being a nice guy and took all of our weapons to homologation for us, and he took that weapon with, and they passed it. So they don't look for anything. If something is fucked up with your weapon at Vicaline, if you don't tell them, they probably won't notice, unless it's something really obvious.
Unless they know you made it.
That too. If it's a custom weapon, they're going to freak out.
Because he was really fingering my sword to find something.
Yeah. So what you should do is next time make it look really nice, and I mean it looks nice, but it's just like make it all smooth and professional looking, and then you can put a little fake like company logo on the blades so that they're like, oh, like a company made this.
I just need a workspace.
And they just do one of these. I mean, here's the extent of a Vicaline check. If this was like a company made sword, they take it in the hand and they squeeze the handle, and they take it by the blade and they do this. They don't even really squeeze. They kind of just like run their hands down it, and then they take the tip. They do that. And they do that, and then that's it. And they give you back your sword, or they put a little thing on the handle and they give you back your sword. Like compared to the dagger here check, where it's like, give me a back, and then like some guy has to stand there covering his neck, covering his kidneys, get walloped in the back, light, medium, hard, check the whole thing, squeeze the tip, squeeze the sides,
look for
dead
spots,
put the pommel in your eye socket to make sure it doesn't touch your eye, pull out one of those friggin' 2x4 things with all the holes in it to make sure all the measurements are right. Then pass your sword. Oh, no. Then weigh it, then check the balance point, then pass your sword.
Check the flex, all that stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of that's...
over it.
Yeah, in a LARP game, a lot of that isn't necessary, but the fact that, like, I showed a guy why my sword failed, and then it went there the next day, and he passed it because nobody told him about the sword failing is kind of silly.
Well, and I had heard that, and people had suggested to me, like, well, why don't you take your sword to someone else and get it checked? But I was like, I'm in another country... at a game that I actually care about, and I'm not trying to like jump over the fence of like legality. You know what I mean? I'm not. Right. So I was just
I'm not trying to like cheat.
No. I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I'm like echoing what you're saying. Like,
yeah.
It's not like it's not like we're trying to skirt the rules there or go above what the administration there wants. It's like
We're trying to hurt people.
Yeah. For real. We're trying to injure your friends.
But for me, that sword failed, and I was like, well, no big deal. I have that Kalamazoo glaive now, because I'm all about the length. If I could, I would rather have an 8-foot glaive, because that's what I'm used to, and I feel like it would actually contend with spears. But it's probably for safety reasons that they don't want really long weapons.
Yeah. Continuing on the thread of Tom making really cool things, he made the shield.
Yeah.
That thing is so cool.
Nice Pavis.
So it's coreless.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's fine. That there's going to be particles on that too, because I tried to spray Plastidip over latex that still had a little bit of silicone on it.
But so much smoother than your messer, that really attests to how you're already improving, and like you've only made like 3 or 4 things.
Yeah.
So I mean, this already feels nicer. If we were playing a rough game with it, and you smashed me in the face with this absentmindedly and scraped my face, it wouldn't ruin me like that messer would.
Right. Yeah, it was very easy to make beyond it's EVA foam. EVA, if anybody's ever crafted with it, you can heat treat it, and when it cools, it'll stay in the position that you had it in. So it's pure. What's up, Pecco? Thanks, bud. It's pure just 2 layers of the gray matte EVA foam. I trapped the belts in between the 2 layers. I mean, EVA is resilient to tearing, and I didn't have any problems at all. I would love to make more stuff. I just live in an apartment without a garage or anything. Plus, I mean...
Barbus wants to... Did you tell Barbus how you got the curve?
Oh. At the time, I worked at a print shop that printed really big rolls of paper, and then so they had a cardboard core at the middle, and they would recycle them, and I just saw them and kind of was like, oh, brainstorm, that's a nice little thing. So I asked the production manager, he's like, you can take as many as you want, like we recycle those. So I just took one and sawed it in half, and then heated up the middle of each layer, pushed it into the core, and then just like laid on it, and did that over and over again with both layers, and then they just went together, and I dapped and trapped the belts in there, and it's a nice little device. And the EVA foam is dense enough that it doesn't feel floppy and stupid.
No, it's real nice and steady.
So I was pretty happy with that. Look at me.
It's actually me with this thing on. This covers so much of me.
Yeah, I would like to see more Pavice shields and stuff. I think they're fancy.
It is one of the only shapes that's really fitting culturally with us.
Yeah.
So I feel like we should probably do more of these. I mean, I would love to have one of these that I both could use like this, but also use just strapped lower. Kind of like a punch, like those HMB punch ones.
Like actually used how it's supposed to. Yeah.
We're bullies.
Yeah.
We're bad people.
So sweet.
I do hope people are picking up on the sarcasm.
I hope so. Or people that know us are like, okay.
They're like, oh, those guys, those mean guys. I lost one of my earpieces. I'll just go without it.
Okay.
This is just a Gorg shield that I painted, so there's nothing super special about that. It's same foam, but it's 2-layered and it's just a little punch.
Jordan says you got to say "Let's party" when you wield my. I don't know if you ever heard that story. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Tell the story.
So
I love Tom's story.
So when we Boffer fought a lot, because that's where we came from. We touched on that in the first episode or the pilot episode. I used the 8-foot glaive, and I don't know. I've always had this thing where I can like send myself into kind of like an adrenaline state. Like I can hype myself up a lot, and in Boffer fighting, it's encouraged to hit really hard with the 2-handed weapons because they can break shields. With 2 hard hits, you have to drop the shield. Like I've shattered it.
And you have to hit as hard as you would hit a shield if you were trying to break it.
And people, or if you don't hit hard enough, people will be like, no, and they won't because they don't want to lose their shield. So I don't know.
Like this, people, is because that's the culture we were brought up in. Okay, it's not our fault.
Yeah, it's like we were raised in that. So I don't know. I was like super hopped up, and it really is. I mean, it really is coming from like a full contact sport. It really does put you in the moment to really like crank it out. Anyways, one time before I like swung and hit somebody, I was just like in a grunting voice. I was like, "Let's party," and just went and like and, like hit somebody's shield. And Jordan Nifty there in the chat was there.
Amazing.
We all had a good laugh.
Hey, Mike, is that other shield behind you still working?
Oh yeah, it's great. I honestly barely use it just because I'm more of like a 2-sword guy.
Yeah.
I throw it on my back, which is really what's
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I'd have a shield to show off, but I gave that one to Mike. So
yeah, this is Josh's old shield actually that I bought off him, made by our buddy Danith, who I don't know if he's still doing anything like commission wise, but he has his own like Facebook page. It's that Black Anvil on Facebook. He also made all my beautiful brass armor here.
He made my helmet back there.
He made that helmet, not that one, that one. Yeah, he does a lot of
mine right now.
Yeah, he does a lot of good work. He's doing stuff for Josh right now. He made this shield, and it's a really cool shield. I think it's the coolest dag shield I've ever seen, just because it doesn't have like a ridiculous curve like a Roman Scutum or whatever. It has a very nice subtle curve, which is great, and it's nice and comfortable. If it had been made for me, I would have asked for straps that were vertical, because that's just would be more comfortable for me. But even the way they're strapped now, I still got pretty good use out of it. Honestly, I use it mostly strapped to my back. This paint job was mostly done by my girlfriend Natalie, who I adore. I tried to do it, but I'm really bad at stuff like that, so she did it for me, which is how most of our relationship goes. I'm bad at something and she helps. So that's like my personal heraldry of sorts. The black dog on a maroon field. The shield's pretty cool. Like I said, if it was strapped a little different, I would probably use it a lot more, just because of the nature of how I fight, especially with a strap shield. I used a 28-inch strap round shield for almost a decade, so it's hard for me to suddenly have a shield that covers like 2/3 of my body. Yeah, so it's just like I don't really know what I'm doing with it. If I was going to practices, I'd figure it out, but I pretty much was only using it at Beacoline and stuff. Also, I feel like Josh's arms are probably bigger than mine, so this was made for arms that aren't so skinny, because it's a little loose on me too. I probably need to shove something underneath the straps to make it a little less.
Yeah, you could
loose.
glue something to that, no problem.
Yeah, or I could get bigger.
Yeah, it fit me perfectly. It was awesome.
Yeah, why bother? Who am I trying to impress? I got there's that. And then God, I think at that point we're pretty much out of foam stuff to show people.
Yeah. Well, we could transition to like what we'd like to see. We could give the shout outs to like Wyvern, show what they offer.
Our hopes and dreams.
So many hopes and dreams.
The swords we dream of having. Or just not even having, just like I hope these exist one day.
Dang, it's dreams.
Wyvern does a good job.
Yeah,
they have a lot of really cool historical swords. I know a bunch of the Indiana boys have a bunch of two-handers from them. They might even have a couple single-handed swords. They look great. They make really, really nice fancy sheaths for them.
Yeah, they're low profile,
which is fine because
I guess we'll transition.
We're doing like a violent thing here, so you kind of got to expect that. But as far as like getting hit with them, they are the bitiest sword I have felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait, let me go to the window.
Yeah, Wyvern, like 10 out of 10, I would recommend. Like there's some things about them that I'd like to see a little bit different, but overall, it's like my favorite brand right now that I just want to keep buying their shit. So.
Yeah, they keep pushing the envelope. They keep. I mean, they have a full replica line of different swords.
And it's like their pricing versus their quality is what I find is like optimal.
Yeah, it's reasonable.
Like Kalamazoo, I feel like they've got really great stuff, but I don't like their pricing. You know, not as much.
No,
it's just weird.
I don't know if we want to look at anything specific, but yeah, I would definitely say that
Yeah,
I
I mean,
believe.
just scroll through. I mean, there's a couple in there that might be worth even looking at a little closer. Those some of these the effort they put into their handles are amazing. Do they
Yeah.
actually? And I know none of us own them, so we don't know for sure. But other people, like I know Phelan has a two-hander from them. Do they
Yeah, I
actually
fought with
leather
that
wrap their
thing.
handles?
It looks like it.
Because it looks
Yes,
real.
yes, it is. I held it last summer, and they're freaking amazing. For a few minutes, I played around with Rob and Nick, but
Yeah, that looks like leather for sure.
they were so pretty.
Well, and that's the thing. Down to every detail, it's very, it takes a lot of the fluffy. I don't even know the right word to use, but it feels like it would feel a lot more like a real sword.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, so many manufacturers put like a bloat on their weapons, and I don't know if it's to make it. I don't know if that's like a look they're going for, or if they think it makes them safer or something, or maybe it's just easier to make them like that because they're probably doing like injection molds, and it's just easier to make something that's going to hold up more in the manufacturing process compared to something like that that's realistically sized and shaped, and that's probably only like a quarter inch of foam on top of the core,
Yeah.
but because it's so little, it ends up looking like that. And like it's like at a distance, that just looks like a real sword to me.
Yeah, it goes from like a 10-foot 10-foot call or whatever they call it, where you're like, well, from 10 feet away, that sword looks real. Probably closer to a 5-foot or shorter, to where you get closer and closer, and you're still like, man, that still looks really good.
And there's scabbards, dude. Like,
yeah.
So Jim Ripple's got one of those cavalry sabers that they do, those that I fawn over. They've had them at Beakeling, and I literally would go to the stand almost every other day just to hold one and swing it around. And I guess I just didn't have in like my spending fun money budget at Beco to buy another sword when I already had 3 sabers. But I want one so bad because I don't even know if they have them on their website right off the bat.
Are you talking about the saber with the?
It has like a it doesn't look medieval. It looks a little more 19th century Napoleonic, like cavalry saber-ish.
It's the one that Justin got. This one.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that's the thing.
Jim Ripples is his holdfast name. I'm sorry. There it is. Yeah.
And sure,
I love that thing.
I do too. But the thing that makes me hesitant is I'm super stubborn, and I want to see more of a Hungarian
like
handle.
A medieval Slavic.
And I want to message them and be like, can I just pay you to like fabricate it for me, and then you can sell it on your website? Like, I'll pay the costs.
You can at least guarantee that if you make the mold, and you will have at least 2 or 3 people buying them
at a regular, because the blade's fine.
Yeah, it's perfect. And they do the trick, which is another thing we should talk about, because we're going to get into talking about how bad we want curved swords. But they do the trick where that's a straight core, but because of the shape, you can manipulate it, and even you can tell they did it a little bit in the handle. They manipulate the shape and size of things and where the core lays inside the blade so that it gives off the look of a slightly curved blade. That's even like that Rugi sword that's a straight core in there, but because there's that big fat end on the tip of the blade, it gives off the look that it's curving, and it's not. But I mean, obviously, with the cultures that we do, there are straight swords, but we really want sweet, cool Polish, Hungarian, Lithuanian sabers.
And I can totally compromise. Yeah, I could totally compromise for that. But again, going back to what I said, like, I want to be able to put it in sheath. I want to be able to walk around it with it, and I want the handle to look appropriate for what we're doing. So that's my. I'm still holding out. I mean, if I hold one of these and I'm like, oh, and it's just great, I'll get one. Just because it really is the closest thing with a sheath that we've seen.
Even if it doesn't perfectly fit like 16th century Slavic stuff like we're doing, I just want one so bad.
I'll take the closest thing for sure.
I'll take Mongolian as long as it's cool and curved.
Also,
and I can attest to this thing just swinging around in the air at Vico when hanging out with them at their stand. Like Wyvern weapons, they have that thing that Epic Army Sword has going on, where it's like the the handle isn't humongous, so I can really get a great grip on it. It feels like a real sword grip, and the way that their blades are made so thin and nice, and the way they cut through the air, like you're essentially swinging what feels like a real sword, at least to me. I mean, I have real swords that I swing around too, and it's close enough. It obviously doesn't weigh as much, but it like if I was to compare fractional mass and physics between it, like my muscles are doing the same thing they would do with a real sword when I swing those things. And that's what I really love about them.
Yeah.
And it really does make that cutting sound through the air. It makes that like whipping.
Yeah.
It does, yeah. It's nuts. Tom, do you have that picture of that knife?
I do.
Yeah. All right, this is something for our viewers. I don't. Let me know when it's up because my
It's up.
screen's delayed. Okay.
I'm just struggling centering it.
No worries. So for you viewers out there, because we don't have curved swords right now, like I'm getting really upset about it. I'm looking for knives that we can get for the Druzhina. Go on all the websites we're sharing today and let us know if you find a better one than this, because I think it'd be so cool if we all had like similar knives, and when there was a new member of our group, we just all pitched in and got them a knife to match.
Yeah.
I would love to do something like that.
I've
It'd be like a rite of passage.
I've only seen one better, and it's not even really like worth mentioning. It is, but there's a maker in Germany. He goes by Sander Prop Works. I mean, don't get me started because like he makes gorgeous, ridiculous. I mean, he made curved swords. He's made a bunch of stuff, but a lot of it's one off. But he makes, I can't think of the name right now, but it's kind of like the Eastern sword or Eastern dagger. You know the scene in with Fire and Sword when Bohun pulls out his knife and stabs it in the table?
Yeah, I think so.
It's like the slightly curved blade and it has the fan out handle. He made one of those with a sheath at one point, and I'm like, dang it, because like I would totally buy one because they just look so good. I definitely just want to broadcast out into the universe. I want more Eastern stuff, Slavic stuff that isn't cartoony.
Yeah.
Like I want people, like we all have the Western stuff. There's plenty of Western stuff. Keep making the Western stuff. But
there's enough Type D longswords to.
I just
arm
wish
a
there was
small country.
more love towards that community, because there is brilliant stuff. I mean, there's gorgeous stuff.
We can, before people start spamming us with links to Elysian Forge, we can admit at least that we're aware of them.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Tom is more experienced with the logistics of, getting them and stuff, and why we don't just have Elysian Forge swords.
So Elysian Forge is a maker in Australia. They've actually, through their own means, have fabricated curved fiberglass cores, which, there it is, Bully, the standard prop works. They, when they were in early production, the swords they made, I was like, oh my god. Like, they had Polish sabers that had like 3 fullers, and they were talking about the historical why they did this, and they were looking over manuals, and I was like, holy crap, like I can't wait for this. They were doing like a Kickstarter campaign, and this is just from a third-party view. This is just kind of the impression I got. They tried to find a manufacturer that would make their stuff, and they ran into a lot of problems with quality that they weren't happy with. And I think at the moment, all their swords are sold out, and they're just selling the cores. But the cores are kind of expensive, and you're also going to pay a lot of shipping from Australia to get them. So it kind of, to me, closes the market, and like, I'm not going to buy those. but they're great. They were really doing good. So I really wish them well, and I hope that they can figure that out. But I also kind of wish.
I hope they do, because they're the only ones that are making, like, besides, like, I obviously have that Carabella from Rugi, but they're the only ones that are making legit curved swords that look historical.
Right.
They aren't as, like, they have a little bit of that bloatiness going on, not as bad as other companies. But that's something that's probably going to go away with time, because they are obviously striving for a good looking sword. So I really hope they get back off the ground, because that's going to be probably my next sword purchase, if they can get us like good looking Hungarian sabers.
Right. I agree.
but we'll have to see what's going on with them. But I definitely wanted to make people aware that we are aware of them before they started spinning. It's like, oh, like, what about these guys? It's like, we know, we would if we could.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's not happening. A lot of people in Swordcraft I can see like are using them. There's like a whole group of like Eastern looking people that use Shashmirs that are made by them, and they look awesome.
Yeah.
So I do hope we can at some point do something. I'm at the point where I'm just buying cool looking swords so that we have like an armory of sorts, so that when we just get new people, they don't have to worry right away about like, oh, I gotta get a sword and I gotta get my garb. And it's like more so get a good simple kit together and get yourself a helmet. And I got a million swords, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
like,
and it really
want a shield, get a shield. But
it really kind of removes the guessing game of buying something and not knowing the quality. The information is worth it to have it in your hand and be like, okay, this is a yes or this is a no, or like, I don't know, like anyone that's like, oh man, I'm looking for curved swords. I saw this person, and you can be like, well, my experience, I don't know about that right now. I don't know if they're up to par, and it saves them that purchase, or at least you can give them kind of a little bit of a review. Do you want to
look at that big steel group?
So, our eternal great buddy and lifetime friend and beautiful person, Paul Pecco, which we all know. I don't know if he's still in here. He linked. We have like a little chat, and he linked to us today a maker from the Czech Republic called Fake Steel. I've never heard of them, and this isn't the best little image lineup, but look them up on Facebook.
Facebook, so it's like the only way we can really look at.
But their stuff, and it could just be they have an awesome photographer. I don't know. Their stuff is gorgeous. I don't know what they're doing with the paint, but it's reflective. It looks very historical.
See, like now I want that hammer, and I can just get rid of that.
Yeah. They have some videos. It looks like they're really trying to base stuff on history. They're really trying to. I mean, I'm kind of going deep in the photos now, but.
Well, that's even like show that picture of the two dudes fighting, because that kind of shows off too what I was talking about last week with Czech Clark. They just look super historical and sweet. Like everything about that looks like medieval dudes fighting. Like there's no fantasy to that in my mind.
And that's the big drawback that everyone has faced, and I'm sure people don't mind, is LARP weapons. I'm not trying to dump, but they look good. There's so many goofy LARP weapons. There's so many goofy. I don't know if people are like, man, fantasy is so inspired in what we're doing. Like, let's just go nuts and like make these fantastic blades. Like, I think it would be cool if one popped out every once in a while as like a special item at a LARP, where you're like, whoa, like it's an enchanted weapon. But in this picture, nothing of my eyes goes no when I look at it. Like, and I think that's the point of kitting up and trying to look cool is. We've all been using our imaginations, and our imaginations got us to this point. But now it's like, I don't want to use my imagination to ignore bad-looking weapons. I want weapons to look good. I want them to look real. And I mean, to each their own, but I'm really interested in checking these guys out. They have a video or two, like, I don't know. Oh, God, it's repopulating. They have like stress test videos of them showing how, I mean, they got this thing too. But they show stress testing their foam in a vise and it doesn't rip. So the durability, it looks like it's made for heavier fighting. They look great. I mean, I don't know. So we'll have to see.
We should spend a whole episode looking at, like, we should take time beforehand to get all the videos and stuff ready, but we should take a whole episode to look at Czech Clark, because
oh my God.
Everything I understand about it up to this point is like that's what I want to strive for having here, and I feel like it's competitive, and it's the calibration is high and hard enough that I think we can get Americans really into it.
Like, look at that.
Yeah. I really want to get one of their maces and paint it brass.
Yeah.
I mean, they might just do it brass. I mean, they might.
Yeah, for all I know, they'll do it and it'll look real shiny and nice. Yeah, I mean, it like as far as I'm concerned, these look just as good, if not a little better than Wyvern, because they've got that shine.
Yeah, they're very clean, but again, they have a great photographer.
Yeah, and I mean, they're obviously shooting it all in a white.
Like how it
like
looks though. I said earlier, like their dimensions are all so good on their swords. Like with with Wyvern, their blades are a little bit thicker than what looks normal, especially compared to their hilts and handles. But the like this,
Yeah, like look
like
at this.
if this is real, like I'm gonna and they
Is
pass in
this a
the
LARP
game.
goof?
Yeah, like if like they get
Hmm.
passed at like
Are we
bingo
being
or something.
pranked?
Holy cow!
Yeah.
That would be a big bummer if we were like freaking out about this and people are like, yeah, it's not even real.
Yeah,
No,
that's
it's
a
fake
joke account.
steel. It's
Um,
fake steel.
it's real fake. Um, so yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, to me, it's about simplicity. Like to me, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it looks more real to be a average nobody in an army of people, because then the school of people running around looks good because it looks real. Everybody gets the one
Yep.
player mentality of like, I want to be the mythical warrior with this whatever, and it's like that. It doesn't. I mean, it's my opinion. Others might agree or disagree, but it doesn't make the entire group look good. It makes
Yeah.
it look. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's a lot of. I mean, that's a lot of people are like the look at me, I'm the hero mentality, which it's like nobody's looking to make you the hero at a LARP unless it's like we were talking about last week, we were playing to lift, and you're obviously doing something that's meaningful to the game. But I mean, you showing up to a LARP for the first time with your Lich King sword or whatever,
yeah.
that doesn't mean I'm going to treat you like the Lich King, you know.
Yeah,
But
little goes a long way.
wow, Nancy, I thought you were following last week.
Wow.
Wow. But,
do we
so,
do we
I
want to
don't think
do
we
anything
have-
real quick?
I was going to say, I don't think we have time to touch on firearms, sadly, which
No.
we teased. So I feel
Well,
bad, but that
We'll,
doesn't
wanna
mean
tease it?
we could do a whole episode on it. And I mean, that'll probably make people tune in next week.
Ah!
We'll have a bunch of stuff ready to talk. Yeah, give them a little teaser. There are a couple things that we're not sure we can even talk about yet on like a public platform. So we're gonna have Tom check with his sources and see what they're cool with and what they're not cool with. But we might have some very exciting developments. Whereas previously we talked about how hard it is for us to get our hands on some of this stuff. We might have a way to bring it directly to us. But that's something we're probably going to have to save because I don't want to do it in 8 minutes and then call the stream over.
Yeah, and we
so-
like we did last episode with teasing the Forbidden Swords. We can tease this, and then if we get enough people, we can see about it.
Forbidden guns.
Forbidden
So-
little poppers.
Do you guys have been keeping an eye on chat pretty well? You don't think we missed anything? We gotta scroll up and
We can scroll up and look.
So that's what I would like to spend the last 8 or so minutes doing.
Well,
We
okay,
don't have
so
anything else,
if you
really.
have any questions, please put them in chat. I've been looking mostly at Twitch.
I've been looking. I've been watching Facebook and YouTube, and I'm the only person that comments on those.
Okay.
Tight.
Yeah, I mean we're mostly Twitch, but if you have any questions, post them now. We'll see if we can get to them. I mean, I guess I could tell that story if people want to hear it.
Tell it while people are
Yeah.
sending or resending.
I'll fill
their
the time.
questions if we missed them.
Let me go back to the main. How do you guys like this background? So basically, our first Beakley we went to, just a short thing. Like you go to a new country, you go to experience a new experience. It's a little nerve wracking. We were very aware of like we want to do well here, and we want to play the way that is acceptable to play. We don't want to be those jerks, or more specifically, the American jerks that show up like, our LARP's the best, and like, I'm going to fight the same way cross, and people are just going to have to deal with it. We were like, no, we're very sensitive. We want to like, okay. So we had originally talked earlier in the week that we were not going to wear our armor the first day of battle. And then the night before, we got all hyped up like, screw it, let's all wear our armor. Well, I kind of did like the old man thing where I'm like, I've worn armor before, but like I had not been in shape. I had not fought or done anything active. And this is kind of leading up to my excuse of why this happened. But
So it was your first time wearing all that stuff together too.
It was, and it was hot, it was record hot for like what Quebec was supposed to be at that time. And the first
Humidity,
battle
really.
was the Gulch, which is basically a ravine, and we were fighting up the ravine. So we put all our stuff on. We felt really cool. I was like dripping out of my helmet before we even started walking, which I feel like some of the looks we got it was worth it. But we got there and I was a mess, and I was nervous because it was, there's a lot of people and everything. Well, anyways, we march up all the way up the hill, and I'm standing there with my Nemesis glaive, and so I'm trying to be careful, but the first shot I ever throw, there's a girl not wearing a helmet. She had glasses on. She wasn't really looking at me, and I'm like, I'm doing this. So, I was real hyped to do headshots because we weren't allowed to do headshots in our game. So I didn't throw it really hard, but I was like, okay, I'm doing it. And I stepped forward and swung down on her. Well, she saw me at the last minute and went like this to dodge me. Well, I was so deep in the shot that when she stepped back, the glaive hit her like right in the forehead. When it hit, I'm not laughing because okay, whatever. I'm not laughing because I think it was okay. I'm just laughing because it's ridiculous.
It's so hard not to.
It hit her, and just her glasses just exploded in like two different directions, and she was like stunned. And I think she was an American LARPer, and that may have actually been her first Picoline. I don't know, but she immediately like stunned, like fell to her butt and looked up. She's like, why'd you hit me in the head? Like, I'm not wearing a helmet. And I was very like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, whatever. And I'm not gonna say what she said, but she used many expletives in my direction, and she was very mad, and understandably so. But I was just I'm sorry.
I was immediately like, well, this is what this is going to be for
Yeah, like we tried so hard to be sensitive. We tried so hard to not be like
endlessly talking about like, all right, let's not be bullies, let's be good guys.
So, but then I mean, of course, I talked to other people throughout the week and told them about it because I felt bad, and they were like, well, that's why there's incentive for people to wear helmets, and you probably shouldn't wear your glasses on the field.
Like any field.
But it was a legal shot.
Yeah, it was completely legal. You were going for the crown of her head, and you hit the crown of her head, but the way that she tried to react to it, she put her face in your blade, and also her glasses.
I try to think of like what her point of view looked like. Like I'm like lumbering up the hill, like full armor, just like not confident, like just like because being nervous too.
We probably just looked like Smough and Ornstein.
I'm just like like dripping and like like, and here I come.
You should actually try to find really quick the picture. I don't know. We're probably tagged in on Facebook or it's on Instagram or something. You should find that picture of Yumi, Bill, and Pecco because we all look so sweaty.
Oh man,
so miserable. Oh, I know we're already in that. But you don't have to find it if we're already in that. But we should have had that ready. We could show it next time.
I didn't even think about telling that story, but
yeah.
But yeah, I was a mess.
And then like there's a couple other stories I wanted to tell because I had a cool memory pop up on Facebook today, but we can do it next week too. But yeah, it's like nobody's walking in that field thinking like I'm gonna get taken care of today. It's more so like I don't know, we're all swinging sticks and there's hundreds of us, and things are gonna happen, and more than likely somebody's gonna get hurt. Not like irreparably, and I'm in a wheelchair for the rest of my life hurt, but you're gonna get smacked on. You're gonna get dumped on, point down. And there's even times at last Beacoline where I was legged, and you can't walk on your knees like you do in Dag and Bell while you're legged. You have to stay where you are. And so I'm standing completely still, and I have the very typical like sword hovering above my forehead guard so nobody can bop me in the head, and I had a shield in front of me, and this dude with like a pole hammer just went in for a straight like shot on the face, right on my nose with his pole hammer. And it made me mad because it's like that, like, I don't know how you could accidentally do that. I was standing completely still. And the marshals ended up kind of telling me to calm down. So I was like, this dude just took a deliberate shot at my face. Like, I know I can't prove it, but I'm driving the hardest time understanding how that dude, with me standing completely still,
right,
kneeling on the ground, I cannot move, managed to just hit me right in the nose with his pole hammer. And I was like, I don't know. Like it's like I don't want to say it was something where it's like they heard an American guy getting mad and they thought I was gonna like do a mass shooting or something, so they had to calm me down.
This is an American man. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, like oh god, stop him. But I don't know. I was probably acting real angry about it, so that's on me. But we're at 90 minutes.
Yeah.
If you guys are down to close this off, I'll
yeah, I don't see any questions.
Cool.
Yeah, not
yeah,
anywhere else.
Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. This felt like a breeze. Like this was like I spent so much time back there, so I wasn't even looking at the clock, and I'm like, man, that went by really fast. So obviously, we're getting comfortable and we're having a good time. Numbers stayed steady and everything, and I'm really happy about it. Thanks for hanging out. Especially, yeah, I know, I can't help it. Even when I'm like happy looking at it, so like there's something wrong with it. But yeah, thanks for tuning in again, guys. Obviously, next week we're going to talk guns.
Mm-hmm.
And any other questions?
Yeah, any other questions you guys have? We're going to be posting all week on Instagram and on Facebook and stuff. So please, if you comment on those posts, I will be making a list of those. And at the beginning of every episode, we'll get through our questions for the week.
Yes.
Just little things about whatever you want. You can just ask us stuff, or if it's just a silly topic you want us to talk about, or if you have a funny story that you want us to tell, because a bunch of you guys know us. A lot of you are our close friends. Just bring it up, and we'll make sure to mention you. Because any sort of engagement we're getting right now, we really appreciate. It's really awesome. This is going so much better than any of us expected, especially right off the bat. But with that, I bid you all adieu.
Just real quick, just closing things. One, you notice that we're dressed up this time. Do you guys like that? Do you want us to continue doing that? We kind of did it as like Halloween, and then I looked at the calendar. I'm like, no, it's going to be November 1st. But
I really wanted to do it because I was going to be standing out.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't want to be in my boxers and flip flops like last week.
And I mean, we all have plenty of garb and stuff, and I mean, it's a way for us to wear it, and so if you guys like it, we'll do that. Two, yes, please do comment on all our posts. I mean, we are primarily doing this to connect with you guys, try to get community going, try to get people talking. I mean, it's less of us just wanting to be up here and talk, be like, look at us. We want to interact. And streams are always going to be Sundays at 7 p.m. Is it Eastern? Yes.
Yeah, 7 your time, 6 mine, and I'm Central. So 6 Central, 7 Eastern.
Okay.
And with that, also, we want to reach out more than just Twitch. So if you do happen to see us go live, share it on YouTube, Facebook, and anywhere else you can. That really helps us a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Because I know there's a lot of LARPers that aren't on Twitch, so that's why we want to do that.
All right, guys. Have a good rest of your night. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.